Logo. Gravitrex. Text. The Gravitrex trademark as a medical device in development. Any patient examples used in this presentation are hypothetical. Any performance metrics discussed are based on beta testing of device or core mechanism. No clinical studies have yet been performed on the finished product. Gravitrex Inc. holds an exclusion license to patents owned by Gravitrex Holding. This presentation is not for distribution beyond intended recipients. Images, logos, and names used in this presentation are for illustrative purposes only and are not for commercial use as they be subject to copyright protection. A headline from azfamily.com reads, 3 hospitalized after SUV crashes into Flagstaff Chipotle. A photo captures a white SUV among scattered dining tables and seats. At the upper right corner, a presenter's video feed displays.
Last spring, my then 77-year-old father was sitting in a Chipotle eating a meal when an SUV crashed through the window. When I learned that he'd been taken to the hospital, while I was relieved to hear that his injuries were not life-threatening, I knew that he faced challenges ahead. Immobilization after the accident led to weakness, and then difficulty walking again, because he lacked the strength to stand and had no person or equipment that could safely support him.
Text. Helping older adults recover mobility after hospitalization or fall is challenging. Hospitalization leads to weakness. 13+ million older adults, 65+, are hospitalized annually. Source 1. 2020, November 30th. National Institute on Aging research highlights, maintain mobility and preventing disability are key to living independently as we age. Text. 11% muscle strength can be lost in just one day. Source 2. Kisson H. et al. Relationship between mobility and falls in the hospital setting, Brown Hospital Medicine, 2023. Text. 2/3 discharged from hospital with a new difficulty. Source 1. 2020, November 30th. National Institute on Aging research highlights, maintain mobility and preventing disability are key to living independently as we age. When therapists and caregivers mobilize patients, falls and injury are risks. 1 million hospitalized patients fall each year. Source 2. Kisson H. et al. Relationship between mobility and falls in the hospital setting, Brown Hospital Medicine, 2023. Text. 91% physical therapists sustain an injury at work. Source 3. Cromie, J.E., Robertson, V.J., Best, M.O. Work-related musculoskeletal disorders in physical therapists. Prevalence, severity, risks, and responses, Phys. Ther. 2000.
While the circumstances of my father's accident were certainly unique, the situation he found himself in was unfortunately far too common. Over 13 million older adults are hospitalized in the U.S. every year. They can lose up to 11% of their muscle strength in just one day of bed rest, and 2 out of 3 leave the hospital with a new challenge of daily living, like walking. Walking rehabilitation for these patients is very challenging because healthcare facilities and carers fear falls and injury to healthcare providers. The irony in my father's situation is that he, a neurologist who'd worked with patients with gait and balance problems, was already developing a radically new walking assist device.
Text. Gravitrex trademark makes it easier and safer to recover mobility. On the right, a medical model grips the handles of a walking assist device crafted from a metal frame, harness, 2 cables, and 6 wheels.
Gravitrex is a walking assist device that supports part of a user's body weight, making walking safer and easier.
Text. Gravitrex trademark works like no other. Gravitrex's patented mechanism is enclosed within the side panels. It uses a novel, complex mechanical assembly to generate a force in the cables that takes weight off the legs. Gravitrex Inc. holds an exclusive license to use the patented system owned by Gravitrex Holding.
How does it work? On the right, we see a person walking independently. The red arrows represent the forces of gravity on the knee joints and the legs. On the left, we see a person using the Gravitrex. They first step into a harness that's connected to a rolling walker frame by 2 cables. What's truly innovative is what we do not see. Inside the panels on the side is a mechanical system which generates a lifting force on the cables, supporting part of the person's weight as they practice upright walking, making it easier and safer to learn to walk again. The blue arrows represent the forces of gravity felt by the user. Over time, the therapist can reduce the amount of lifting force so the person can gradually return to walking independently. Gravitrex works like no other. Competitive devices use a motor. This innovative technology in the Gravitrex is able to consistently offload weight during the dynamic movement of walking with no battery and no power, something which is technically very difficult to do.
Gravitrex creates value for rehab facilities and extends reach. Business model, B2B2C, device sold to rehabilitation facilities via rehabilitation therapy companies. Facility value proposition, increase revenue by billing at higher CPT codes for standing activities. Improve outcomes and patient satisfaction scores. Reduce risk of staff injury, workers' comp, and patient injury due to falls. Home use. Increase revenue by increasing number of patients receiving services.
Our beachhead market is U.S. post-acute care rehabilitation facilities, and the business model is selling hardware devices B2B2C. The customer is the healthcare facility and will sell via rehabilitation therapy provider companies. Gravitrex provides a significant value proposition due to three key aspects. One, revenue increase due to higher billing CPT codes for standing activities. Two, improved satisfaction scores due to better patient outcomes. And three, reduced cost of injury due to patient falls and staff worker compensation claims. Once we establish adoption in facilities, we'll expand with our lightweight foldable version to home-based therapy, increasing the total number of patients receiving services. We've spoken with more than 150 target stakeholders who confirm product market fit.
We expect to disrupt a large and growing market with global upside. TAM $181 billion total global physical therapy services market. Source 1. Persistence Market Research, 2021, Global Therapy Services Market 2032. Text. SAM $31 billion global rehab equipment, assistive devices market. Source 2. Data Bridge Market Research Report on the global market for assistive devices and equipment projection for 2027. 1.1 billion achievable U.S. market share, bottom-up analysis based on 20% of 51K rehab centers. Source 3. Based on bottom-up analysis of penetration of rehab centers, key data benchmarking from interview with former CEO of National Chain of Rehab Centers, March 2021. Source 4. IBIS World August 2020 plus 2.8% YOY CAGR.
We expect to disrupt a large and growing market. The total global physical therapy market is projected at $181 billion, of which $31 billion is rehabilitation equipment and devices. In the US alone, we have a path to surpass $1 billion in revenue. This is based on a bottom-up analysis with an assumption of 20% penetration of 58,000 projected rehab centers. And the assumptions in our model are based on interviews with multiple executives in rehabilitation therapy companies.
A table titled Gravitrex, trademark, versus the competition has 6 rows labeled with features, provides partial body weight support, cost-effective, transportable, low setup time, low training requirements, and free of battery, motor. A column labeled Gravitrex includes checkmarks for all features. 0 provides partial body weight support and costs more than 20 times the cost of Gravitrex. Hokoma Andego provides partial body weight support, costs more than 10 times the cost of Gravitrex, has a low setup time and low training requirements. Alter G provides partial body weight support and costs more than 10 times the cost of Gravitrex. Light Gate provides partial body weight support, costs more than 2 times the cost of Gravitrex, has a low setup time and low training requirements. Light Run Marswalk provides partial body weight support, costs more than 15 times the cost of Gravitrex, has a low setup time and low training requirements. Text. Competitive characteristics estimated based on publicly available information. Gravitrex features for anticipated commercialized product. Gravitrex target price at scale for base model.
There are other devices which support part of a person's weight. They're typically an overhead harness attached to something fixed, like a ceiling tract or a treadmill. They're not transportable, they're highly complex, and they are expensive. The devices shown here cost up to $250,000. Thus, they're limited to specialized rehabilitation facilities and are used by a privileged fraction of those who could benefit.
We have invested in our patent moat and have completed expert regulatory diligence. IP portfolio. First patent issued July 2021. Second patent issued 2023. PCT filed for international patent protection. Patent submitted in 9 strategic countries. Continuation in part patent, 2023. Patent pending on harness design. Trade secrets. Specific information required to manufacture key components. Third-party regulatory assessment. Expert assessment. Class 1 device 510K exempt. CPT codes. Standing exercise CPT code 97530. Gate training CPT code 97116. Gravitrex LLC holds an exclusive license to use the patented system owned by Gravitrex Holding.
We have multiple issued patents, and our patent protection has been extended globally in key strategic markets, and we've completed regulatory due diligence with an expert consultancy.
We have strong momentum toward driving adoption. A timeline breaks into sections labeled IP between 2021 and 2022, prototype between 2022 and 2023, validation between 2023 and 2024, optimization between 2024 and 2025, and launch between 2025 and 2026. Text. IP and prototyping. Patent issued 2021 PCT for international. IP continuation in part patents 2 prototype. Alpha testing. Mechanical engineering, external feasibility assessment, human volunteer data, regulatory due diligence, DFMEA risk analysis, pilot study prototype. Beta testing, bench testing, third-party, engineering enhancements, design for manufacture, pilot sites, scientific community engagement. Commercialization and launch, build sales and distribution infrastructure, regulatory compliance, quality management, commercial launch. Note, launch time is an estimate, which is subject to change. Accolades appear on the timeline. Text. 2021, Polski second place winner. 2022, ACR, M. Launchpad winner. 2023, Mass Challenge selected. Age Tech Collaborative from AARP selected. 2023 finalist NIA Startup Challenge.
We have strong momentum towards driving adoption. We've developed a functional prototype which we've tested in human volunteers. The next steps are to validate the prototype in an IRB-approved research study and incorporate engineering enhancements identified in customer discovery and prepare for the launch of our base model. Among our achievements, Gravitrex is proud to have been awarded Most Innovative Rehabilitation Technology from the American Congress of Rehabilitation Medicine and selected as a finalist for the NIA Startup Challenge. In Q1 2024, we plan to apply for Arizona State R&D grants to fund engineering enhancements, and in Q2, an SBIR. To support equitable implementation, we'll study use across diverse patient populations. We would benefit enormously from winning the NIA Startup Challenge prize, as it would allow us to fund the preliminary data that would serve as the base of support for these grant proposals. Our go-to-market plan is to utilize clinical data to launch into 3 to 5 leading inpatient rehabilitation centers. Use among key thought leaders will support credibility and help drive adoption. We'll generate awareness through a small, specialized sales force for scientific communication and participate in key conferences.
Team has the experience needed to reach milestones. In photos, team members smile. Text: Kira Burns, co-founder, CEO, 15+ years commercial experience in healthcare, former marketing director, Abbott Labs, M.B.A, University of Chicago, booth. Richard S. Burns, M.D., co-founder, chief scientific officer, senior neurologist, NIH, VA, Barrow, the Cleveland Clinic, 30+ years clinical experience evaluating gait and balance disorders. Andrew Burns, co-founder, chief design officer, founder of DYA, product design company, experienced fabricator, multiple patent holder, U.S. and international. Kate Goosen, CFO, senior finance executive, Div. CFO with 18+ years experience, including M&A, FP&A, and board partnership, M.B.A, University of Chicago, booth. Suzanne O'Neill, PTDPT, DHSC, NCS, clinical liaison, 10+ years licensed physical therapist and board certified neurologic specialist, associate professor, doctor of physical therapy program. Marlon Veenstra, graphic design strategist with 15+ years of experience, former creative director AMC, former design professor, Pratt Institute. Kate McGuire, PT, DPT, advisor, founder, Groundwork Physical Therapy. Mark Sheffer, PT, advisor, 25+ years in inpatient hospital rehabilitation. Arpan Bisfir, advisor, co-founder and CTO Kinemo, Rehab Tech, research engineer, Georgia Tech. Faisal Khan, advisor, healthcare marketing leader, 15+ years in commercial roles. David Engel, advisor, experience med, device professional, 20+ years operations, manufacturing.
Our team brings a powerhouse of relevant experience. I, Kira Burns, am the CEO and have more than 15 years of broad commercial experience in healthcare, much of it at Abbott working on products for patients with frailty. Dr. Richard Burns is an NIH-trained neurologist who has practiced and done research at premier institutions like Vanderbilt and the Cleveland Clinic. Andrew Burns is an experienced product designer and fabricator. Kate Goosen, our expert fractional CFO. Suzanne O'Neill, our clinical liaison. And Marlon Veenstra heads up graphic design. We have advisors who bring clinical experience, rehab tech engineering, medical device manufacturing, and marketing expertise. We use external experts for engineering, legal, and regulatory work. To further strengthen our team, we intend to bring in a leader with rehabilitation facility administration experience. We're in the process of building our scientific advisory board and our patient advisory board to reflect the voices and perspectives of the people who will use our products directly.
90% of adults 50+ want to age in place in their homes. AARP Survey, 2023. Successful aging in place honors older adults' preferences for how they receive services, participate in care. Journal of the American Geriatric Society publication, 2023. Source 1. Gustafson A.M. et al. Equitable Implementation of Innovations to Promote Successful Aging in Place, American Geriatric Society, 2023, 71 open parenthesis 2 close parenthesis colon 683-688. Gravitrex, trademark, can go where others cannot, it empowers mobilization where and when they choose. In a photo, a person holds the arm and back of an elderly patient who uses forearm crutches for support while walking.
Gravitrex, due to its unique technology, can improve access to an evidence-based intervention due to lower cost and transportability. 90% of adults want to age in place in their homes, and successful aging in place honors older adults' preferences. In this paradigm, Gravitrex can go where others cannot. It empowers mobility recovery for older adults where and when they choose. We appreciate your support in helping make independent mobility more accessible to everyone.
Logo: Gravitrex. Text: Kira Burns, Kira at gravitrexmobility.com.